Do you believe the person closest to you can turn into the cruelest traitor? I used to think family was the last safe place, until my own sister proved me wrong. My name is Rebecca Martinez, and this is the story of how I lost everything, only to discover my real strength. It was a Friday in September, sunlight pouring through the windows of the 15th floor office. I sat at my desk, excited, just about to send off the final report for the biggest marketing campaign of my career at Pinnacle Solutions, where I'd worked for 15 years. Then an email popped up from HR. The subject line read, "Urgent meeting required." My heart started racing. 10 minutes later, in a cold conference room, I listened as Sarah Williams, the HR director, said flatly, "Rebecca, I'm sorry to tell you your position has been eliminated due to restructuring." No. In that instant, my world froze. Words like severance package, Colorado BRA benefits, and transition period floated past like fog. All I could do was stare at the perfectly aligned pencils on the table. I signed the papers with a shaky hand, packed my personal things into a box, and stepped into the elevator. When the doors closed, the air felt heavy. My chest tightened, my breath quickened, and I had to lean against the wall so I wouldn't collapse. As the elevator descended floor by floor, it hit me my life had just changed completely in 20 minutes. On the drive home, numbers spun in my head. $3,200 a month for the mortgage. $45,000 for Emma's college tuition is coming up. 6 months severance. If I didn't land something soon, we'd lose the house. When I opened the front door, pop music blasted from Emma's room. The weight of telling her the news pressed down on me like a boulder. After dinner, while she worked on homework at the kitchen table, I sat beside her and said carefully, "Sweetheart, we need to talk about a change in our family." When I explained I'd lost my job, Emma set down her pen and looked at me with wide, worried eyes. In that moment, I watched a piece of her childhood disappear. "Does this mean I can't go to Stanford, Mom?" she asked, her voice trembling. The question ripped me apart. 15 years of grinding to make sure she could chase her dream without worrying about money, and now this. "We'll figure it out." I forced a smile, though inside I had no idea how. That night, after Emma went to bed, I sat alone in the kitchen with my laptop and a cold cup of tea. The glow of the screen lit my tired face as I scrolled through job postings. Marketing director, senior manager, brand strategist. Roles I was qualified for, but the competition was fierce. A thought crept in at 42. Could I really compete with younger, hungrier candidates? Looking out the window, I saw the neighbors' houses still lit up, families enjoying a normal evening. Meanwhile, my life had been flipped upside down. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff with no idea where the next step would lead. I typed "career change after 40" into the search bar, remembering conversations with female colleagues about restarting after life blew up. How many women were in the same boat as me? An idea flickered, but I shoved it aside. This wasn't the time to chase dreams. I needed stability. Emma needed me to be practical, not a dreamer. Staring back at the endless job postings, I whispered to myself, how do I rebuild my life when everything feels impossible? I didn't know then that the answer to that question would drag me through the most painful yet transformative journey of my life. I didn't know the person I trusted most would turn into my greatest enemy. And I couldn't have imagined that from the ashes of my old career, a stronger version of me would rise. That night, in the quiet kitchen with nothing but the laptop's glow, I caught a glimpse of a future where nothing would ever be the same again. To understand why what happened later hurt so much, I need to tell you about Michelle, my sister, and the person I once believed was my best friend in the world. 3 years ago, on a freezing winter night, my phone rang at 11. Seeing Michelle's name on the screen, I knew something was wrong. She never called that late unless it was serious. The second I heard her sobbing, my chest tightened. "Rebecca, David left me. He said he's found someone else." I threw on a coat and drove 30 minutes through the night. When I opened her door, I saw a completely different version of my sister, hair messy, eyes swollen from crying, her whole body shaking. "I'm here, it's okay," I whispered, pulling her into my arms. "You'll get through this." The weeks that followed were brutal for Michelle. David didn't just leave, he left behind mountains of debt and a nasty custody battle over their 12-year-old son, Tyler. Every night, Michelle called me, sobbing like her world had ended. On the day of her divorce hearing, I sat with her in the waiting room, whispering, "You're stronger than you think. I believe in you." But when the judge ruled, Michelle walked away with almost nothing. David had moved most of their assets into his new girlfriend's name before filing. I saw the look in her eyes, that hollow, desperate look, and knew she needed more than comforting words. "Michelle needs money for a good lawyer and a place to live," I told my husband at the time. "I want to loan her some from my 401 Kelvins." When I offered $50,000, Michelle hugged me tight and sobbed, "You're my saving angel. I don't know what I'd do without you." I felt a warm glow in my chest, believing I was doing the right thing for my family. But the loan was just the beginning. After she lost her house, I invited Michelle and Tyler to live with us. For 8 months, our 3-bedroom home became a shelter for 2 families. Mornings, I'd cook breakfast for everyone before work. Evenings, I listened as Michelle poured out her struggles trying to rebuild her life. "I feel like a total failure," she told me one night after the kids were asleep. 42, divorced, no stable career. "Do you really think I can still make something of myself?" I took her hand and said firmly, "Don't talk like that. You're smart, you connect with people, and most of all, you've got a good heart. You'll find your way." Little by little, with my constant support, Michelle enrolled in real estate courses. I paid her tuition and babysat Tyler while she went to night classes. For months, I was both sister and stand-in mom. When she passed her exam and landed a job at a respected real estate firm, we threw a little party at home. While we raised our glasses, Michelle hugged me and said through tears, "I couldn't have done this without you. You're the most important person in my life." Back then, I believed in our bond completely. She'd seen me sacrifice not just money, but time, space, and peace at home to help her survive. When Michelle moved out and started thriving in real estate, our relationship felt stronger than ever. We had weekly dinners, sharing stories about work, life, and our kids' futures. "You're the only one who truly gets me," Michelle often said. "We've been through too much together. You know I'm real with you." Those words filled me with pride. In a world full of competition and mistrust, I had Michelle, my sister, my confidant. But one thing I overlooked. Through all those tough months, Michelle never once mentioned paying back the $50,000. Whenever I hinted at finances, she'd change the subject, or say she'd pay me back once things are more stable. Over time, I convinced myself that money didn't matter compared to family. She'd been through hell, asking for repayment felt selfish, even cruel. Even our mom, Dorothy, reinforced that belief. "Sweetheart, Michelle's changed so much since you helped her. She always says you're the best sister in the world." Hearing that, I felt proud. Michelle had always been Mom's favorite, while I was the quiet, dependable one. Helping her wasn't just sisterly duty, it was my way of proving my worth in the family. As Michelle's career soared and her income hit 6 figures, everything between us looked perfect. She was the person I confided in about work struggles and my hopes for Emma's future. "We're lucky to have each other," Michelle often said before hanging up. "Not everyone has a bond like ours." And I agreed completely. In a chaotic world, Michelle felt like the one person I could trust without question. She'd seen me at my lowest, and I'd carried her through hers. What I didn't realize was that my blind trust was the very weapon Michelle would one day use against me. I didn't know that all those years of sacrifice were laying the groundwork for a brutal betrayal. At that point, remembering all our sweet moments, I still believed our sisterhood was sacred, something unbreakable. Sometimes the best ideas are born in the darkest moments. For me, losing my job became the spark for the most important creation of my life. 2 weeks after leaving Pinnacle Solutions, I still hadn't found the right job. Every morning, after dropping Emma at school, I'd sit at a little cafe with my laptop and a list of companies to contact. That day, I noticed something different: other women sitting alone with laptops too. Looking closer, I saw a pattern. The brunette at the next table was nervously updating her LinkedIn. In the corner, a woman in her 50s was reading a book about career transition, exhaustion written all over her face. We're all in the same boat, I thought, feeling a deep sense of connection. That afternoon, while Emma did her homework, I started researching unemployment stats. The numbers shocked me. Women over 40 had the longest average time out of work. After divorce or layoffs, it often took 18 to 24 months to find a new job. This isn't just my problem, I realized. A spark flickered in my mind. That night, with Emma asleep, I sat in the living room with tea and a notebook. writing about everything I'd felt the past 2 weeks: rejection, self-doubt, financial fear, and especially the loneliness of trying to start over. Then I thought of Michelle. 3 years earlier, she hadn't just needed help job hunting. She'd needed emotional healing. Divorce had shattered not just her finances but her identity. She had to learn how to believe in herself again. And suddenly, the picture came together like the last piece of a puzzle. Midlife women don't just need career advice, I wrote, hand trembling with excitement. They need a full support system, emotional healing, practical skills, and most of all, a community that gets them. Over the next 3 days, I poured every free moment into developing the concept. I called it Phoenix Rising Academy, an online coaching platform for women 38 to 55 facing major life transitions. The unique promise wasn't generic career tips, but a holistic approach. Every client would be supported through 3 pillars: emotional recovery, skill development, and networking in a supportive sisterhood. My research showed traditional coaches charge $200, $500 a session but ignored the emotional trauma behind career setbacks. Therapists understood emotions but didn't have the business skills. Phoenix Rising will bridge that gap. I wrote in my growing business plan: $297 monthly membership for courses and community, $997 a month for group coaching, $2,500 for premium one-on-one transformation. The brand vision centered on authentic storytelling and showing vulnerability as strength. Instead of fake it till you make it, Phoenix Rising would encourage women to embrace the full journey, including the stumbles. After a week of planning, I felt more alive than ever. This wasn't just a business idea, it was a calling. I could help thousands of women like Michelle, like me, find their strength again. That Friday, I decided to share it with the one person I trusted most, Michelle. I called, bubbling with excitement. "I've got an amazing idea I need to tell you about. Want to grab dinner tonight?" "Curious," she agreed. "Sounds interesting. I'd love to hear about your project." That evening at Olive Garden, our go-to place for serious talks, I could barely sit still. The moment she sat down, I launched in. "I think I found a solution for my financial situation and a way to help thousands of women too." For 2 straight hours, I laid out every detail of Phoenix Rising. Market research, pricing strategy, content plan, tech platform. I spoke with the passion of someone who'd just struck gold. "The target is women like us," I explained. "Divorcees, laid-off employees, empty nesters, anyone going through major life changes. They need more than career tips. They need emotional support and real skills to reinvent themselves." When I outlined the 3-tier pricing model, Michelle nodded thoughtfully. "Have you researched competitors? Is the market crowded?" "That's the best part," I said, leaning forward. "There are tons of general coaches, but no one focused on this demographic with a holistic approach. I'll be first to market." She pressed for more marketing strategy, customer acquisition, tech needs. Each question was sharp and insightful. I felt grateful to have her input. "Have you mapped out a launch timeline?" she asked, jotting notes in her small notebook. "And what about social media strategy?" Seeing her write everything down, I felt a rush of appreciation. This was why I loved her. Michelle truly cared about my success and took the time to understand. "I'm planning a soft launch in 3 months, I explained. "Start with a private Facebook group. Build a small community of 15-20 women, then slowly roll out courses and coaching." Michelle even asked about branding, colors, logo, tagline. I shared it all. The coral and gold palette inspired by Phoenix imagery, and the tagline, "Rise from ashes, soar to success." By the end of dinner, as we walked to the parking lot, Michelle hugged me warmly. "You're amazing. This idea has huge potential. I'm so proud of your creativity and determination." Driving home, I felt euphoric. Sharing my vision with Michelle made it real. With her support, I was sure Phoenix Rising Academy would succeed beyond my wildest dreams. That night, before bed, I reviewed my notes from our talk. She'd asked so many thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely invested. I told myself I'd made the right choice sharing it with her. As I turned off the light, I smiled into the darkness and whispered, "The Phoenix will rise." What I didn't realize was that the person I trusted most was quietly planning to steal my Phoenix and claim it as her own. I didn't know her detailed questions weren't sisterly support, but market research for a rival business. In that moment of joy, I had unknowingly planted the very seeds of betrayal, and I was the one watering them. 6 weeks after that dinner with Michelle, I was still in planning mode, perfecting every last detail of Phoenix Rising Academy. My perfectionist streak kept pushing back the launch. I wanted the website flawless, the curriculum mapped out, the legal docs airtight. On a Monday morning in late October, after dropping Emma at school, I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee and laptop. While checking email and scrolling Facebook, a sponsored ad made me freeze. Transform your life after 40. New beginnings coaching for women ready to rise again. The words felt uncomfortably familiar. I clicked. The screen filled with coral and gold, the exact colors I'd chosen for Phoenix Rising. My heart pounded. My hands shook on the mouse. At the top was a polished photo of Michelle with the title, Michelle Chen Rodriguez, Certified Life Transformation Coach. Below was a bio about her journey from devastating divorce to thriving entrepreneur, and her passion for helping women reclaim their power. No way, I whispered, my stomach twisting. Scrolling further, I saw 3 coaching packages. Phoenix package for $297 divided by month, Rising Stars Group for $997 divided by month, and Elite Transformation for $2, $500 one-on-one. It was my pricing structure down to the dollar. I gripped the edge of the table as dizziness washed over me. Then the Our Approach section appeared. Emotional healing, practical skills development, and sisterhood community support. Word for word what I'd explained to Michelle at Olive Garden. My trembling hand clicked. Testimonials. There were photos of women in their 40s and 50s with quotes about life-changing transformations. One in particular stabbed me in the chest. Michelle helped me realize my divorce wasn't an ending, it was a new beginning. I went from broken single mom to confident business owner in 6 months. At the bottom, the footer read, Launch date, 3 weeks ago. While I'd been obsessing over perfecting my plan, Michelle had already launched. This has to be a nightmare, I muttered, pinching my arm. But the page stayed put. Michelle's smiling face. My stolen idea. And the worst part, her Facebook page already had 200 followers. Rage and heartbreak hit me like an electric shock. Betrayed at the deepest level by the one person I trusted most. I grabbed my phone and dialed. It rang 3 times before Michelle answered cheerfully. Hey, Rebecca. What's up so early? Michelle, I said, trying to steady my voice, but the anger bled through. I just saw the New Beginnings coaching website. Care to explain? Silence, 5 long seconds. Then her defensive reply. Oh, that? I thought I mentioned my project to you already. Mention? My voice rose. You stole the entire concept I shared with you. The pricing, the structure, the audience, everything. Michelle's tone turned icy, manipulative. Rebecca, you're overreacting. Ideas like this don't belong to one person. Great minds think alike. And don't forget I've been in business longer than you. Her gaslighting made the room spin. I gave you my detailed plan, you took notes. You ask specific questions. You need to calm down. She dismissed me. Business is competitive. You can't expect to be the only one with an idea about women's coaching. Then she hung up. I sat frozen at the kitchen table. Numb. Losing my job had been painful. But this? This was infinitely worse. Betrayal by the person closest to my heart. That afternoon, I forced myself to dig through her website and socials. Her page, New Beginnings by Michelle, already had 43 posts with quotes like, Find strength after setbacks and rise like a phoenix. That word phoenix broke me. She hadn't just stolen my business. She'd taken the metaphor that meant everything to me. When Emma got home, she found me in the living room, tissues scattered, eyes red. I forced a smile. I'm fine, sweetie, just a little stressed. But Emma wasn't fooled. She sat down, gently asking, Mom, what's bothering you? Can I help? I couldn't dump the full weight on her, but I couldn't pretend either. Sometimes adults deal with disappointments in trust and friendship, I said carefully. I'm learning not everyone we love will always act in our best interest. Emma squeezed my hand, thinking it over. You always told me, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Maybe this is one of those lessons. No. Her 16-year-old wisdom hit me harder than anything. Later that night, while Emma studied, I got a text from Mom. Michelle just told me about her new business. I'm so proud of her creativity. You should support your sister. Reading it felt like being slapped again. Michelle had stolen my idea and now she was getting family praise for her creativity. That's when I saw the old family pattern clearly. Michelle always got the credit, while my sacrifices went unseen. Lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, I let the full weight of betrayal sink in. She hadn't just stolen my idea, she'd weaponized my trust, my vulnerability, my dreams. In the dark, I whispered, how could the person I love most be this cruel? And for the first time, I realized, the sister I thought I knew might be a stranger. Worse, I'd handed her the very weapons she used to destroy me. A cold certainty settled in my chest. This wasn't the end. It was only the beginning of a war I never saw coming. The days after discovering Michelle's betrayal felt like one long, nameless nightmare. Every morning, I woke up with a crushing weight on my chest, like breathing itself had become a chore. That Tuesday, I stayed in bed until 11. When the sunlight finally cut through the curtains, I felt angry at myself for being so weak. Get up, Rebecca, I muttered. You can't let Michelle destroy your life like this. But when I stood, the room spun and my legs felt like cotton. I hadn't eaten since last night, but even the thought of chewing made my stomach turn. While making breakfast for Emma before school, I forced myself to act normal. But when she looked at me, she asked softly, Mom, why are your eyes swollen? Did you cry last night? The lump in my throat almost choked me. I turned away so she wouldn't see the tears. Just allergies, honey. Nothing to worry about. Oh. After she left, I sat in the living room with my laptop, trying to focus on job listings. But every marketing role I saw only reminded me of Phoenix Rising, stabbing at me all over again. Maybe the idea wasn't that good, I whispered. If it really was, why did I share it so recklessly? That thought spun in my head on repeat, like a broken record. I started doubting everything, my business instincts, my judgment, even the people around me. That afternoon, I saw Michelle's latest Facebook post. So grateful for the amazing response. Just signed my 15th client this week. When you follow your passion, the universe conspires to help you succeed. My stomach dropped. 15 clients in 3 weeks, numbers I'd planned to hit in my first quarter. The comments made it worse. You're such an inspiration. So proud of your courage. Thank you for showing us it's never too late to chase our dreams. I slammed the laptop shut and screamed into a pillow. Those were my dreams. That was my courage. That night, while Emma worked on homework, I sat in the kitchen staring into space. She glanced at me with worry and said carefully, Mom, can I do something? Maybe we order pizza tonight instead of cooking? Her kindness cut deep. My 16-year-old was taking care of me when it should have been the other way around. I'll be fine, sweetheart. I managed a smile, brushing her hair back. Adults just need time to work through things sometimes. But the truth was, I wasn't fine. Night after night, I lay awake until 3 or 4, replaying my conversation with Michelle, and cursing myself for being so blind. Why was I that naive? The signs were there, she never paid back the loan, she always took credit for what I helped with. Why didn't I see it coming? That Friday night, my phone lit up with Mom's name. The second I answered, she said brightly, Rebecca, I just heard Michelle's business is doing so well. Aren't you happy for her? The betrayal flared hot in my chest. Mom, do you realize Michelle stole that idea from me? What are you talking about? She snapped. Michelle told me she developed it on her own. Don't be jealous of her success. My jaw clenched. I gave her my business plan 6 weeks ago. I have proof. Rebecca. Mom cut me off, her voice sharp. You're 42. It's time to grow up and stop blaming others for your failures. Instead of complaining, maybe you should learn from Michelle's initiative and drive. Then she hung up. I sat there in silence, shattered. Michelle had twisted the story so I looked like the bitter sister, and Mom believed her completely. The next day, I tried to distract myself with errands. At the grocery store, I overheard 2 women chatting in the produce aisle. Have you heard about Michelle Rodriguez's new coaching business? I'm thinking about signing up. She seems so genuine, so inspiring. I froze, my grip on the cart so tight my knuckles turned white. Even strangers were praising her authenticity, while I, the one who had actually been authentic, was invisible. That night, after Emma went to bed, I poured a glass of wine and sat alone in the dark living room. For the first time, I let myself consider the possibility. Maybe I wasn't special. Maybe Michelle was right. Maybe great minds really do just think alike. What's so special about me? I whispered. I'm unemployed, divorced, broke. Michelle's the successful, confident one. Maybe I was never cut out for business. The thought dug deeper and deeper. Maybe I'd built my whole self-image on a fantasy. By the second glass of wine, I was scrolling job sites again. Maybe an office job is the smart choice. Maybe entrepreneurship was just a silly dream. But every posting looked soul-crushing: marketing coordinator, brand assistant, communications associate, low pay, long hours, nothing inspiring. I spent 15 years climbing, only to end up right back at the bottom, I muttered, despair washing over me. Sunday afternoon, Emma found me still in pajamas, blankly staring into an empty coffee mug. Mom, she said gently, sitting beside me. I think you need to talk to someone. This isn't healthy. Her concern broke the dam. I sobbed into her arms. I'm sorry. I'm supposed to be the strong one, but I feel completely lost. She hugged me tight. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be okay. Whatever happens, we'll get through it together. In her arms, I realized how far I'd let depression swallow me. Emma shouldn't be the one holding her mother up. She needed me to fight, not fold. You're right, I said, wiping my tears, staring into her wise young eyes. I won't let anyone steal my fire. They can take ideas, but they can't take my heart. And right there, with Sunday light spilling through the kitchen window, I felt the first spark of hope in days. Maybe Michelle had won the first round, but this battle wasn't over. What I didn't know then was that my daughter's words would ignite the comeback of my life. Emma's words cut through the darkness like a flare, waking up a version of me I thought I'd lost forever. Instead of sinking deeper into pain, I decided to turn it into fuel for my comeback. And yes, for revenge. That Monday, I woke at 5 with a whole new fire in my chest. Michelle might have stolen my idea, I told myself, but she can't steal my heart or my lived experience. Coffee in hand, I sat at the table with my notebook and began to map out a strategy. From now on, Michelle wasn't my sister, she was my competitor. I spent the next 3 hours dissecting her New Beginnings website like a surgeon. And the deeper I looked, the clearer it became her empire was built on sand. Her about page? Bland, shallow. After a difficult divorce, I rebuilt my life and now I want to help other women. No raw details, no vulnerability, just generic fluff. Her blog? A string of recycled clichés. Believe in yourself. Every ending is a new beginning. You're stronger than you think. Empty words that sounded like a Pinterest board. Her testimonials? Only 3, and vague at best. Inspiring. So kind. A great listener. Not one mentioned tangible results. That's when I saw at my edge. Michelle had copied the shell of my idea, but she didn't have the substance. She'd never lived through being laid off at 42. She hadn't felt the terror of a mortgage, tuition bills, and no paycheck. She didn't have my story. That week, I rebuilt my vision, Phoenix Rising 2.0. It wouldn't just be coaching. It would be raw, real healing. A journey powered by lived experience and proven tools. I started writing. Not polished fluff, just truth. My first blog post began. The day I lost my job, I cried in my car for 2 hours. Not because I loved that job, but because I feared that at 42, maybe it was too late to start over. When Emma read it, her eyes lit up. Mom, this is your real voice. Every word feels true. Her feedback told me I was finally on the right path. That Friday, while researching mentors, I stumbled on an interview with Amanda Foster, a former Fortune 500 exec who became a life coach at 50. Her story mirrored mine. I emailed her, pouring out everything: my layoff, my betrayal, my broken dream. To my shock, 2 days later, she called me. Rebecca, she said warmly. Your honesty grabbed me. Let's meet. We sat in a small cafe downtown. From the moment she arrived, I felt her strength. Your story isn't unusual, she said gently. I've seen women robbed of ideas, especially by those closest to them. But the win isn't in revenge, it's in execution. Do it better. But Michelle's already ahead, I admitted. She's got 15 clients. Amanda smiled knowingly. In coaching, people don't stay because you got there first. They stay because you bring them real value. And Rebecca, you have something Michelle doesn't: authenticity. Her words hit me deep. She explained that the market was starving for real stories and proven roadmaps, not recycled platitudes. Don't pretend to be an expert. Be the guide who's just a step ahead and willing to share the map. Where do I start? I asked. Start small. Find 15 women in your network. Run a free 4-week pilot. Get real feedback. Collect real testimonials. That's how you build credibility. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope. I reached out to former colleagues, other moms I knew, and women navigating career changes. Instead of pitching, I invited, I'm not an expert. I'm just a woman learning to stand back up. Maybe we can learn together. To my surprise, 18 responded. 15 said yes. The night before our first session, I sat reviewing my notes. Emma leaned over, her voice full of pride. Mom, you've completely changed. You're not broken anymore. You're ready to fight. I hugged her tight. You saved me, Emma. Not just from depression, but from being a victim. That night, lying in bed, I felt a calm I hadn't felt in months. Michelle could steal my concept, but she could never steal my journey. And as I drifted to sleep, one thing was clear. The real battle was just beginning, and this time, I was ready. That first Monday of the pilot, I woke at 5 with butterflies swarming in my stomach. My hands trembled as I poured coffee. It felt like the morning of a college entrance exam. Today, everything changes, I whispered to the mirror, forcing myself to breathe deep and steady. The pilot was simple, stripped down, but intentional. Instead of building some fancy platform like Michelle, I launched a private Facebook group called Phoenix Rising, The Journey Together. 15 women had agreed to join, ranging from 38 to 52. For my welcome post, I wrote, Welcome, sisters. This will be a journey I call painfully honest. We won't hide the struggles, we'll learn how to turn them into strength. The responses came fast. Jennifer, a former marketing exec just laid off, wrote, Finally, a place where I can admit I feel totally lost. Lisa, newly divorced at 50, added, I'm done with all the just stay positive advice. I need someone who gets how brutal life really feels sometimes. Reading their words, I knew I'd nailed the right approach. These women were starving for authenticity, not hollow inspiration. In week 1, instead of acting like a guru, I shared my own raw story the day after I lost my job. I described sitting in the Target parking lot, crying because I couldn't face telling Emma. That day, I felt like a total failure, I wrote. But now I see it as the starting point of the most important journey of my life. The group exploded with connection. Women shared their own breakdowns, their fears, their loneliness in transition. Sarah, a 4-5-year-old teacher considering a career change, commented, Rebecca, your post made me cry, but the kind of tears that set you free. Finally, someone understands. By week 2, I introduced my framework, the 3 pillars of rising. Not theory, just what had actually carried me through. Pillar 1. Accept the pain. You can't rise if you don't admit you've fallen. Grieving the old life is the first step to building a new one. Amanda had told me, don't rush them through pain. Teach them to dance with it. Pillar 2. Build skills from truth. Instead of vague lectures, I created real workshops. Resume writing for career changers, networking when you feel desperate, and financial planning on zero income. Pillar 3. Real community. Not fake cheerleading, but a space to be brutally honest about setbacks and to celebrate small wins. By week 3, magic happened. The women weren't just engaging with me, they were helping each other. When Jennifer shared about bombing an interview, Lisa offered tips on reframing her story. Sarah gave techniques for calming anxiety. This isn't coaching, I realized. This is true sisterhood. That weekend, Jennifer messaged me privately. Rebecca, this group saved me. I was ready to give up completely. Seeing these women fight has given me strength to keep going. I sat down in the kitchen, overwhelmed. Emma saw my tears. Mom, are you okay? I smiled through it. I just realized I found my true calling. In week 4, I took a risk. I wrote a long post about being betrayed, no names, but full of truth. Someone I trusted stole my business idea and launched before I could. At first, I was devastated, but now I'm grateful. Without that betrayal, I never would have discovered that authentic connection matters more than being first. The reaction was explosive, not just from the group, but from friends of members who got tagged in. Lisa tagged a friend. Jessica, you need to read this. After your business partner betrayed you, this perspective is what you need. Jessica joined. Then she invited 3 more. Within 2 days, the group grew from 15 to 25. At the closing video call, the feedback floored me. Rebecca, this isn't like any coaching program I've seen, Sarah said. You don't pretend to be above us. You're walking beside us. Jennifer added, I've paid 3 coaches this year. They gave me the same generic advice. Here, I've learned practical tools from someone who actually understands the struggle. But the comment that cracked me open came from Maria, a 50-year-old widow. Rebecca, when I joined, I was considering ending my life. Watching women like you rise from ashes gave me hope that maybe I can too. In that moment, I knew this was bigger than me. This wasn't just revenge against Michelle. This was saving lives. After the call, Emma asked, Mom, are you happy? You're crying, but your face is glowing. I hugged her tight. Sweetheart, for the first time in my life, I'm doing exactly what I was born to do. The following week, Amanda emailed, Rebecca, I've been following your progress. It's time we talk about scaling up. Oh. At the same time, more women reached out, asking to join the next batch. Word of mouth from the pilot had already created organic demand. But the most important thing was this: I'd proven the concept to myself. Phoenix Rising wasn't just a business idea. It was a movement, built on raw truth and real sisterhood. That night, reviewing my notes, I realized something shocking. Michelle had actually done me a favor. By stealing the surface-level idea, she'd forced me to dig deeper and create something uniquely mine. Thank you, Michelle, I whispered into the dark. You just taught me that execution with heart will always beat imitation with greed. And with that, I knew the real competition had only just begun. This time, I held all the cards. By the second month after the pilot wrapped, my world was shifting in ways I never could have imagined. Phoenix Rising wasn't just a side project anymore, it had become a real movement. That Monday morning, I woke up to over 30 emails. One stood out: Sarah Collins, a reporter from the local Business Weekly. Her words made my heart race. Hi, Rebecca. I've heard about Phoenix Rising and would love to write a feature on your unique approach to supporting women in career transitions. Would you be open to an interview? I reread it 3 times just to make sure it wasn't a dream. A real journalist wanted to cover my work. At the cafe where I'd first met Amanda, I sat across from Sarah and poured my story out, every messy detail, from losing my job to building Phoenix Rising. What makes your approach different? She asked. I don't pretend to be an expert, I said honestly. I'm learning alongside my community. We don't sell empty hope. We create practical tools from real experience. Lah. The article went live that Thursday under the headline, From Layoff to Leadership: How One Woman Turned Pain into Purpose. In just one day, I got over 50 emails from women wanting to join Phoenix Rising. But the shock came when Emma showed me her phone. Mom, someone shared your article on Facebook. There are over 200 comments. Scrolling through them, I saw, this is the leadership we need. Finally, someone authentic in this industry. Sign me up. That Friday, my phone rang. The caller ID was a number I hadn't seen in months. Rebecca, we need to talk, Michelle's voice snapped. I steadied my tone. What about, Michelle? I just saw the article. Are you trying to sabotage my business? I felt a strange calm instead of rage. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm building my own business. A business exactly like mine, she shouted. I laughed. We both know who copied who, but I'm not here to argue. I'm focused on serving my clients. They're just rejects from my program, she spat. I already established this market. Established how? I said quietly. With stolen content and cookie-cutter advice? This market doesn't belong to anyone, Michelle. It belongs to the people who create real value. She hung up in fury. I leaned back, peaceful. If she was panicking, it meant she saw me as a threat. That night, Amanda called with news that nearly knocked me over. Rebecca, you've been invited to speak at the Women's Leadership Summit next month. 200 attendees. The topic? Authentic leadership through adversity. Wait, they want me? They do, she said, beaming. This is huge for your credibility and reach. By the next week, Phoenix Rising had 60 active members and a wait list of 20. Meanwhile, whispers about Michelle's struggles began trickling in, clients not renewing, complaints about shallow sessions, prices being slashed. Jennifer, one of my pilot participants, told me, a friend tried Michelle's program before coming here. She said the difference was night and day. Michelle felt scripted. You felt real. Then Saturday brought a surprise, an email from Michelle. Subject: partnership opportunity. Rebecca, maybe we've been going about this the wrong way. If we combine forces, we could build something even bigger. I have the client base, you have the fresh approach. Let's split profit 50 sur 50. Reading it, I smiled. This was her admission of defeat. I typed back, thanks, Michelle, but I found my own path and plan to stay independent. I wish you the best with new beginnings. Emma peeked over my shoulder. Mom, that was a power move. You took the high road. You're right, I smiled. The best revenge is success without destroying anyone else. When the day of the summit arrived, I stood in front of 200 professional women, nerves buzzing but ready. 2 years ago, I began. I thought my career was over. Today, I stand here to tell you that sometimes an ending is the best beginning of your life. For 40 minutes, I shared my journey from layoff to betrayal to building Phoenix Rising. I never said Michelle's name, but I told the truth about trust, resilience, and what it means to rebuild. When someone steals from you, I closed, they can take your idea, but they can't take your integrity, your passion, or the authentic connections you create. The standing ovation lasted 2 full minutes. Afterward, dozens of women handed me cards and shared their own stories. Driving home that night, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. Rebecca, outstanding. I've already had 5 partnership inquiries for you. Ready for the next level? And in that moment, I realized the tables had completely turned. I was no longer the victim of betrayal. I was the leader others looked to for hope. Michelle's stolen idea was nothing more than a footnote in a much bigger success story, mine. 3 months after Phoenix Rising hit the press, the call I'd been expecting finally came. It was a Thursday night. Mom's voice was heavy, tired. Rebecca, she said, we need a family meeting. Things between you and Michelle have gone too far. I want everyone at my house Sunday. We'll settle this once and for all. Oh. A wave of dread and anticipation washed over me. Mom, I'm not sure that's a good idea. Some things are better left alone. No, Dorothy cut in firmly. Your sister's been crying to me 3 times this week, and you're out there building a successful business but refusing to talk to her. Family sticks together. After hanging up, I sat at the kitchen table in silence. Emma noticed my expression. What did Grandma say, Mom? She wants to hold a family meeting, I sighed. To fix things between me and Aunt Michelle. Emma set her homework aside and looked straight at me. I think this could be good. You're strong enough now to handle whatever she throws at you. And maybe it's time everyone heard the truth. Sunday afternoon, I drove to Mom's house with Emma by my side. She insisted on coming. This affects me too, she said. I have a right to hear what's going on. Michelle's car was already in the driveway. Through the window, I could see her talking animatedly with Mom while Tyler sat beside her, looking uneasy. Ready? Emma squeezed my hand. Ready as I'll ever be, I said, stepping out of the car. The air in the living room was thick the moment we walked in. Michelle's face was a cocktail of defiance and hurt. Tyler looked lost. Mom opened. We're here to resolve this nonsense. Michelle told me she feels attacked and undermined by you, Rebecca. And from what I see, you've built your success on badmouthing your sister. I felt the familiar burn of anger, but I breathed deep. Mom, I've never badmouthed Michelle in public. I built Phoenix Rising on my own experiences. With authenticity. Authenticity? Michelle snapped. You stole my entire concept and called it your own. I met her eyes calmly. Let's be honest about the timeline. I shared my business plan with you at Olive Garden in September. You launched New Beginnings in November with the exact same concept. That was a coincidence, Michelle shot back. Ideas like that don't belong to just one person. Emma stood suddenly. I can't sit here and listen to this. All eyes turned to her. Tyler's especially, he'd never seen his cousin jump into an adult fight before. Sit down, Emma, Dorothy ordered. This is adult business. No, Grandma. Emma's voice was steady. This is family business. I watched my mom fall into depression because of this betrayal. I watched her rebuild from scratch with integrity while Aunt Michelle twisted the truth. And now you want me to just sit here and listen to more lies? Michelle flushed. Emma, you don't understand. I understand perfectly, Emma cut in. I'm 16, not stupid. I know manipulation when I see it. You used my mom's trust, stole her idea, and now you're playing the victim because she succeeded anyway. Live. Tyler shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should just drop this. No, Emma said firmly, turning toward him. Your mom hurt my mom, and instead of owning up, she doubled down with lies. Dorothy tried to regain control. Emma, enough. Emma didn't back down. Grandma, I respect you, but I've seen you favor Michelle my whole life. Mom lent her money she never paid back, gave her a place to live, sacrificed her peace for her. And what did she get? Betrayal. The room fell silent. Michelle looked rattled. Tyler embarrassed. Dorothy stunned. And me? I was bursting with pride at my daughter's courage. Finally, I spoke. Emma's right about most of it, but let me take it from here. I turned to Michelle. I've had months to process. I'm not angry anymore. I'm disappointed, but I'm also grateful. Michelle blinked. Grateful? Grateful you forced me to become a better version of myself. If you hadn't stolen my idea, I might never have found my true voice. Phoenix Rising became deeper, more meaningful because it came from real struggle. Dorothy leaned in. So, can you forgive her? I already have, I said. But forgiveness isn't trust. We can't go back. That foundation's broken. Michelle's voice cracked as tears spilled. I don't know why I did it. I was jealous and desperate. I thought I could get away with it. My business is failing. And I see how successful you are. It was the first time she admitted the truth. Tyler's jaw dropped. Michelle, I said gently, admitting it is the first step. But there are still consequences. You've lost my trust and others, too. Dorothy's voice shook. Rebecca, I owe you an apology. I always assumed Michelle was telling the truth without ever considering your side. I contributed to the favoritism that hurt you. Her words lifted a weight I didn't know I was still carrying. Mom, that acknowledgement means everything. Tyler finally spoke. So now what? Can we move forward as a family? Emma answered before I could. Family doesn't mean pretending nothing happened. It means accepting reality and building new relationships with respect and boundaries. I looked around the room. I'm willing to have some relationship with Michelle, but boundaries are non-negotiable. No more sharing personal info, no money between us, and absolutely no business partnership. Michelle nodded through tears. I understand. I just hope someday we can maybe start over. Maybe, I said honestly. But it'll take time, and actions, not words. The meeting ended with heavy hearts but also resolution. The truth was out. Apologies were made. Boundaries drawn. On the drive home, Emma said softly, Mom, I'm proud of you. You were firm, but not cruel. And you, I said, squeezing her hand. You were incredible. Your courage made all the difference. That night, a text lit up my phone. It was Tyler. Aunt Rebecca, I'm sorry for everything Mom did. I'm proud of your success. I get why trust is broken. Reading it, I realized today's truth-telling had reached more than just the adults. It had impacted the next generation, too. For the first time in months, I felt peace. The truth was painful, but it was freeing. And maybe, just maybe, healing could begin. Not forgetting, but moving forward, wiser and stronger. A year after that fateful family meeting, I stood in front of the mirror in the Marriott Hotel dressing room, about to give the most important speech of my life. Today, I was the keynote speaker at the National Women's Leadership Conference, with 500 people in the audience. Mom, are you ready? Emma knocked softly. She'd taken the day off school just to be here. When I opened the door, she stood there in a navy dress, looking like a young professional. You look beautiful, I smiled, hugging her. I can't believe how grown up you are. So do you, Emma said, stepping back to take me in. I remember when you were crying in the kitchen after losing your job. Now I see a real warrior. Phoenix Rising Academy was no longer a scrappy startup. We had 200 active members, a team of 5 full-time staff, and had helped more than 300 women successfully reinvent their careers. Monthly revenue hit $40,000, but the true impact showed up in the stories. Jennifer, one of my first pilot members, was now a thriving freelance consultant speaking at her own conferences. Lisa had opened a pottery studio after rediscovering her creativity. Maria, who once confessed she'd considered ending her life, was now a peer counselor in our community. When I stepped onto the stage of the grand ballroom and faced the sea of professional women, a rush of purpose surged through me. This wasn't just about my success, it was about the message I'd fought to bring. 2 years ago, I began, steady and confident. I was sitting in my garage, unemployed, broke, and shattered by betrayal from the person I trusted most. Today, I'm here to tell you that your greatest setbacks can become your strongest comebacks if you choose courage over comfort. For the next 45 minutes, I shared the whole journey from job loss to betrayal to building Phoenix Rising from the ashes. I never said Michelle's name, but I spoke openly about lessons in trust, resilience, and leading authentically. When someone steals from you, I told them at the peak, they reveal their character, not your weakness. Your response defines who you become. Choose growth over grudges, creation over competition, authenticity over advantage. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes. Afterward, women lined up with business cards, tears, and their own stories. A CEO wanted me to mentor her executive team. A publisher asked about a book deal. A podcast host begged for an interview. But the one that struck deepest was a young woman, maybe 25. My sister stole my business idea last year, she said quietly. I gave up completely until I heard you. Now I believe I can rise again. That night, Emma and I celebrated over dinner. She leaned across the table and said, Mom, watching your journey has taught me more about resilience than any textbook ever could. You've been my strength through the darkest times, I told her. Your wisdom about trust and boundaries guided me when I was lost. Michelle and I stayed distant, but civil holiday cards, family events, the closeness was gone for good. New beginnings eventually shut down, unable to compete with seasoned, authentic coaches. My mom, Dorothy, changed too. She now proudly shared Phoenix Rising posts on Facebook. I've learned fairness doesn't mean treating everyone the same, she told me once. It means recognizing and supporting each person's unique strengths. Financially, my world transformed. Emma had more than enough for college, with a scholarship fund Phoenix Rising built for other women. The mortgage was paid off. For the first time, I had real security. But the most important measure of success wasn't money. It was letters like the one from Sandra, a 8-year-old teacher. Phoenix Rising saved my marriage. When I found purpose again, I stopped taking my frustration out on my family. My husband says I've become the woman he fell in love with all over again. 3 months ago, a widowed architect named Kevin, whom I met at a networking event, asked me out for coffee. Coffee became dinner, then long walks, and now the first gentle relationship I'd allowed myself since my divorce. I admire your strength, Kevin told me on a recent date. But I love that you're not afraid to show vulnerability. That's what makes you real in a world where everyone's trying to look perfect. Emma approved, which meant everything. Mom, he treats you like a partner, not a project to fix or a trophy to show off. Last month, a major publisher offered me a memoir deal. From Ashes to Empire. A Woman's Journey of Betrayal, Resilience, and Triumph is set to release next year. The advance gave me the funds to expand Phoenix Rising internationally. Amanda, my mentor from the very beginning, was now my business partner. Rebecca, she said in a recent meeting, you've created something that's bigger than coaching. This is a movement about redefining feminine power through authenticity. Phoenix Rising had grown into chapters in 3 cities, a waitlist of 200 women, scholarships, corporate consulting, and courses translated into Spanish and Mandarin. But the growth I was proudest of was personal. I'd gone from a woman who lived for others' approval to someone who trusted her own judgment and set healthy boundaries. From someone who avoided conflict to someone who understood that peace only comes through honesty. Just last night, reviewing testimonials for our quarterly report, I read one that stopped me cold. Before Phoenix Rising, I thought second chances only happened in movies. You proved we can rewrite our story anytime. Sitting in my home office walls lined with awards, photos of the women whose lives we'd touched, I reflected on this wild journey. Michelle's betrayal had become the fuel for a purpose I never knew I had. Emma, now a college sophomore on a full scholarship, often tells me, Mom, I'm grateful for everything that happened, even the painful parts. It made us stronger and brought us closer. Tonight, as moonlight spilled into the bedroom of the house I almost lost, I whispered a quiet thank you. Thank you for every struggle that shaped me. Because sometimes the greatest gifts come wrapped in wounds. And sometimes the person who breaks you ends up teaching you just how unbreakable you really are.